The morning sun spilled gently over the quiet streets of a small neighborhood, touching the walls of the little house where the boy lived with his mother. Inside, the kitchen smelled faintly of bread and tea, though there was no fancy breakfast on the table. Just simple food, prepared with care, was all they could afford. The boy, small for his age but strong in spirit, sat across from his mother, carefully spreading butter on a piece of bread. His eyes kept flicking to the clock. He had to be at school soon, but he made sure he had eaten enough to face the day. His mother watched him from the stove, her hands busy with cleaning up the dishes from last night. She moved slowly, her body weary from the long hours she spent working to keep their home afloat. Yet there was a warmth in her smile that never faded, small comfort that made the boy feel safe despite their struggles. The boy's life was far from easy, but he had learned to find joy in small things. Riding his bike through the narrow lanes, feeling the wind rush past his face, made him forget about worries for a few hours. It was his escape, his freedom, the one thing that belonged entirely to him. He had polished it every weekend, and even though it had scratches from long use, he loved it dearly. It was more than just a bike. It was a friend, companion that carried him through childhood, adventures and small victories alike. School was a mix of excitement and challenge. The boy was bright and curious, always asking questions and helping classmates whenever he could. He was known among his friends for his kindness and honesty. Sometimes when other children teased him for not having expensive toys or fancy clothes, he would smile and continue playing, never letting their words dim his spirit. He had learned early that happiness did not come from things, but from love, effort. In small moments of joy, his mother worked at a small local shop, often starting her day before dawn and returning late in the evening. Her job was hard, repetitive, and tiring, but she never complained. She wanted to give her son a good life, as much as she could. Yet, despite all her efforts, bills sometimes piled up, and the worry of what tomorrow might bring hovered over her every night. She tried to shield her son from these fears, but he was clever, observant, and sometimes noticed the exhaustion hidden behind her calm demeanor. The neighborhood itself was quiet but alive in small, unnoticed ways. People nodded at each other in passing, shared a smile or a brief conversation, and sometimes helped each other in secret, small gestures that rarely made it to anyone's notice. A veteran, a man who had seen the hardships of life and the harsh realities of the world, lived a few houses down. He was known for his quiet strength and discipline. Few knew the depth of his experiences, but his presence was felt by everyone around. Children often admired him from a distance, intrigued by the stories they imagined about his past, even if they never truly knew the truth. On this particular morning, the boy and his mother moved through their routine, simple and unremarkable to anyone else. But underneath the ordinary moments, life had begun to stir in ways that would soon test their courage, love, and resilience. The boy's mother had been feeling a little weak lately, attributing it to the long hours at work and the everyday stress of life. She brushed it off, unwilling to worry her son. But the boy had noticed her struggle, the way she held her hand to her chest when standing for too long, the quiet sighs she released as if carrying the weight of the world alone. He felt a mix of concern and helplessness, wishing he could do more to ease her burdens. After finishing his breakfast, the boy kissed his mother on the cheek and stepped out to fetch his bike. The sun had climbed higher, casting long shadows over the streets. The air smelled of fresh earth and morning dew. As he pedaled through the neighborhood, he waved at neighbors and friends, exchanging brief greetings. Every smile he received, every nod from an adult seemed to reassure him that despite the hardships, life had good moments. He passed by the veteran's house and noticed him tending a small garden, carefully trimming the plants. The boy waved, and the veteran nodded, a faint smile forming on his weathered face. There was respect and curiosity in the veteran's eyes, an unspoken acknowledgement of the boy's spirited energy. School was a place of learning, laughter, and challenges. The boy attended diligently, helping younger students, listening carefully to his teachers and working hard on assignments. Yet even here, life's inequalities sometimes became apparent. While some children came with brand new shoes, notebooks, and lunchboxes, he had what little he could manage to gather. But he never let this make him feel lesser. He focused instead on the friendships he nurtured, the knowledge he gained, and the small victories he achieved every day. His mind was full of dreams, not of riches or fame, but of a simple life where his mother could rest without worry, where they could share quiet, happy moments without fear of what tomorrow might bring. As the day drew to a close, the boy returned home, tired but content. The streets were quieter now, and the fading sunlight painted the walls in shades of gold and orange. His mother was waiting, her face lighting up at the sight of him. She had managed her day well, but the fatigue in her eyes was unmistakable. Seeing this, the boy felt a familiar tug in his chest, a mix of love and worry that he could never fully express in words. They shared a small meal, talking about the day, laughing at little stories, and savoring the ordinary happiness that their bond created. In these moments, their small home felt warm, safe, and full of love, a world that, despite its struggles, belonged entirely to them. Little did they know, life was about to challenge this fragile comfort. An illness, unexpected and severe, was silently creeping into their lives. The boy's mother would soon face a challenge that money could not easily solve, and the boy would be confronted with a choice that would test his courage, selflessness, and the depth of his love for her. The veteran, too, would become a silent witness to an act of bravery that would remind him of the true meaning of heroism, not in weapons or battles fought, but in the quiet, selfless acts of the heart, the ordinary morning, the simple ride to school, the small smiles and nods exchanged with neighbors. All of it would soon be overshadowed by a storm of events that would change their lives forever. But for now, the boy lay in bed that night, staring at the ceiling, thinking of his mother's smile and the adventures he would have tomorrow. The stars outside twinkled faintly, indifferent yet comforting, as if encouraging him to hold on to hope. In his heart, he carried a sense of responsibility beyond his years, a silent promise that he would do whatever it took to protect the one person who meant the world to him. The boy slept that night with dreams of bicycles, laughter, and quiet victories, unaware that soon the true test of his courage and love would come knocking at their door. The next morning started like any other. With sunlight slipping through the thin curtains of their small home, the boy woke up early, stretching and yawning, ready to face the day with his usual energy. But as he entered the kitchen, he immediately noticed something different. His mother sat at the table, her face pale and her hands trembling slightly as she tried to pour tea. The boy's heart tightened. He had noticed small signs over the past week: her tired sighs, her weakness, the occasional stumble, but he had hoped it was just fatigue. Now, the worry he had tried to suppress settled heavily on his chest. "Mom, are you okay?" he asked softly, approaching her. She forced a small smile and nodded, though it did little to hide the truth. "I'm fine, just a little tired," she said, her voice weaker than usual. But the boy could see the shadow of pain in her eyes. He sat beside her, quietly holding her hand, not knowing what to say. Words felt powerless against the invisible weight pressing down on them. At school, the boy found it hard to concentrate. His mind wandered back to the worried expression of his mother. He thought about her standing all day at the shop. It's about the bills that sometimes piled up on the kitchen counter, about the exhaustion she tried to hide. He wanted to do something, anything, to help her. But what could a child do when the world seemed so large, and the problems so impossible to solve? After school, he rode his bike home faster than usual, hoping to see if his mother needed anything. The streets were quieter now, the afternoon sun warming the narrow lanes. As he reached home, he noticed his mother sitting on the small couch, holding her chest and breathing heavily. Fear gripped his heart. He ran to her side, supporting her as she tried to stand. "Mom, please, tell me what's wrong," he pleaded. She shook her head, tears forming in her eyes. "It's nothing you need to worry about," she whispered, but the boy knew better. He had watched her struggle silently for days, and now it was undeniable. Something serious was happening, and he felt a helplessness he had never felt before. The next few days were a blur of hospital visits and doctor consultations. The diagnosis came as a shock. His mother had a condition that required immediate treatment, and the cost was more than the family could afford. The boy listened carefully as the doctor explained the situation, trying to understand every word every number. The amount was staggering for them, far beyond what they could gather, even with all her savings. The boy's stomach tightened, and a heavy feeling settled in his chest. He wanted to scream, to do something, anything to make it right. At home, the boy tried to find ways to contribute. He searched through their small possessions, thinking about what could be sold, what could be traded, what could help. He asked neighbors for small jobs, did extra chores, and even offered to run errands for the shop to earn a little money. But it was never enough. Each day, the boy felt the weight of responsibility growing heavier, pressing down on him like a stone in his chest. One evening, as he sat on the steps outside their house, the veteran from down the street passed by. He had noticed the boy's worried expression and stopped for a moment. "Everything all right, boy?" he asked, his voice calm but filled with concern. The boy hesitated, unsure if he should reveal his troubles. But something in the veteran's eyes, a mixture of understanding and quiet strength, made him speak. He explained the situation as best as he could, his words trembling with emotion. The veteran listened quietly, nodding occasionally, never interrupting. When the boy finished, there was a long silence. "You've got a brave heart," the veteran finally said. "Not many would carry this weight at your age." The boy looked down at his hands, unsure if bravery could change anything. The veteran continued, "Sometimes the right choice isn't easy, but it's the choices we make when the world feels impossible that define us." The boy nodded slowly, absorbing the words. That night, as he lay in bed, he thought about what the veteran had said. He thought about his mother, her sacrifices, her love, her unwavering strength. He knew he had to do something. He had to find a way to help, no matter how small, no matter the cost. The next morning, he took a long look at his bike. It was his most prized possession, the thing that had given him freedom, joy, and countless adventures. But now, it seemed different. The boy's heart ached as he realized what he must do. Selling the bike could raise enough money for his mother's treatment. It would mean giving up something he loved deeply, something that had been with him through so many moments of happiness. Yet, the thought of his mother being well again, of seeing her smile without pain or worry, filled him with a determination he had never felt before. He spent the day preparing, cleaning the bike, making sure it looked its best. Each scratch and dent reminded him of adventures and laughter, of moments he would never forget. And yet, he pressed on, telling himself that some things, no matter how precious, could be sacrificed for the greater good. When he finally placed the bike outside the small shop willing to buy it, he felt a mixture of fear, sadness, and hope. The stranger inspected it, nodded, and handed him the money. It was just enough, but it would make a difference. Returning home, the boy felt a strange combination of emptiness and pride. His mother's eyes widened when she saw him enter with the money. Tears filled her eyes as she hugged him tightly, her voice breaking. "You did this for me?" she whispered. He nodded, unable to speak, the weight of his actions pressing down on him. But the look in her eyes, filled with love and gratitude, made every moment of sacrifice worth it. That night as she rested, the boy sat quietly by her side, feeling a sense of accomplishment and hope. He knew the road ahead would not be easy, but for the first time in days, he felt a spark of light in the darkness, a belief that love, courage, and selflessness could create miracles even in the hardest of times. The veteran watched from his porch across the street. Noticing the boy's determination and quiet strength, he understood that heroism was not always about grand gestures or battles fought. Sometimes, it was about quiet acts of love and sacrifice that went unnoticed by the world, but changed lives in the most profound ways. He felt a stirring in his heart, a lesson being learned through the innocence and bravery of a young boy in those days. Life continued with its trials, but the boy had discovered something important about himself. He had found the courage to act, the willingness to give up something precious for someone he loved, and the resilience to face challenges with a steady heart. And though the future was uncertain, one thing was clear: the bond between him and his mother had grown even stronger, and the boy had taken his first steps toward understanding the true meaning of sacrifice and heroism. The morning light came slowly through the curtains. Soft and warm, touching the small room where the boy had spent the night tossing and turning. His mind was restless, filled with thoughts of the day ahead and the difficult choice he had already made. He had sold his bike, his most treasured possession, and the emptiness left behind was heavier than he expected. Yet he knew it had been the right thing to do. His mother needed help, and if he could provide even a little relief, the sacrifice would be worth it. As he got ready for school, he avoided looking out the window where the bike had once leaned against the wall. The street outside was filled with children riding their bikes, laughing and shouting in carefree joy. A pang of longing went through him, but he swallowed it down. He reminded himself that his mother's health mattered more than his own comfort, more than his own happiness. He packed his bag, kissed her cheek, and walked to school. The memory of the bike lingering in his mind with each step. School that day felt different. His friends noticed the quiet sadness in his eyes, but he smiled when they spoke, hiding the weight he carried inside. He helped classmates with homework, shared his lunch when someone forgot theirs, and listened patiently to stories they told. Every kind gesture he made seemed to lift a small part of his heavy heart, though it could not erase the ache of what he had given up. Still, he held on to a sense of purpose. Every small act of love and care seemed connected to his mother's well-being. That thought gave him strength. Meanwhile, his mother's condition continued to be serious. Each day at home was a struggle for her, and the boy tried to make her life easier. He cooked simple meals, cleaned the small house, and tended to her needs. Even the smallest tasks became acts of love, ways to repay the immense debt of gratitude he felt. He watched her closely, learning when to offer help without being asked, when to stay silent and just hold her hand. He became a silent guardian, source of comfort for someone who had given him everything, the veteran from down the street. Continued to observe the boy's actions quietly. He had seen many things in his life, but the courage and selflessness in someone so young touched him deeply. One afternoon, as the boy carried groceries inside, the veteran came up to him. "You are doing more than most adults would even think of," he said. His voice was calm, but carried a weight of experience. "What you're doing is not easy, but it matters. Every small act of love can change the world in ways we can't always see." The boy looked up at him, surprised by the words. "I'm just trying to help my mom," he said quietly, as if explaining something obvious. But the veteran smiled. "That's exactly what I mean. You are brave even if you don't feel like it. And bravery isn't just about big battles. Sometimes it's about doing what's right when it's hard." These words stayed with the boy, giving him courage. He realized that his choice to sell the bike, though painful, was part of something bigger. It was an act of love, one that would ripple far beyond what he could see. That night, as he lay in bed, he thought about all the small sacrifices he had made in life, helping friends, comforting his mother, working to earn small amounts of money, and he saw them all as steps toward something meaningful. The loss of the bike, though significant, was part of that journey. The following days brought new challenges. His mother's treatment had started, and while it brought hope, it also demanded attention, care, and constant support. The boy found himself juggling school, home responsibilities, and the emotional strain of seeing his mother in pain. Yet he never complained. Each task he completed, each moment he spent caring for her, strengthened his resolve. He learned to be patient, to listen without interrupting, to offer comfort even when he felt helpless. These lessons, though hard, shaped him in ways no classroom ever could. Sometimes, he would catch glimpses of the bike in his mind, remembering the joy of riding down streets, feeling the wind on his face, racing against his friends, and exploring the neighborhood. The memories were bittersweet, but they also reminded him of what he was capable of giving up for someone he loved. Each recollection was a mix of sadness and pride, a testament to the depth of his courage. One afternoon, after helping his mother rest, he decided to walk to the shop where he had sold the bike. He wanted to see it one last time, to make peace with his choice. When he arrived, the bike was gone, replaced by another, shiny and new. At first, he felt a surge of disappointment, a sense of loss renewed. But as he watched the shopkeeper smile at the boy and mention how the bike would now bring happiness to another child, he felt a strange sense of relief. His sacrifice had made a difference. Someone else would find joy in what he had loved, and his mother's well-being was steadily improving. The thought warmed his heart, offering comfort in the midst of his sorrow. Returning home, he found his mother resting more peacefully than she had in days. Her face, though still pale, carried a faint smile. She reached out to hold his hand, and he sat beside her, squeezing it gently. "Thank you," she whispered, her voice filled with emotion. "You are braver than anyone I know." The boy looked down, feeling a swell of pride mixed with humility. He had acted out of love, not expectation of praise or reward. And yet, the recognition from his mother, the gratitude in her eyes, was more powerful than anything else. It reminded him that true courage was not about accolades or admiration, but about doing what was right, even when it was difficult. Over the next few weeks, life slowly began to settle into a new rhythm. The mother's treatment progressed, and the boy continued to support her with unwavering dedication. He still felt the absence of his bike, the emptiness where joy and freedom had once been. But he had discovered something far more valuable: the strength within himself to face hardship, to act selflessly, and to make sacrifices for the ones he loved. The veteran noticed these changes as well. He often watched the boy from his porch, quietly observing the transformation. The young boy had become a symbol of resilience, of courage, of selfless love. The veteran realized that sometimes the most profound lessons came not from experience or age, but from observing acts of pure heart, from witnessing the quiet heroism of someone who gave everything they could for another. One evening, as the boy helped his mother settle for the night, the veteran walked over and handed him a small notebook. "Write down your thoughts," he said. "Remember what you've learned, what you've done, and how you've grown. One day, this will remind you of the strength you have inside." The boy accepted it gratefully, opening the notebook and beginning to jot down small notes about his day, his feelings, and his hopes. Each word he wrote was a step toward understanding himself, a way to process the whirlwind of emotions and responsibilities he carried. Writing became a small sanctuary, a place where he could reflect on his choices and the lessons they taught him. Through it all, he never lost sight of his mother's needs. Every act of care, every sacrifice, every moment of patience was driven by love. And though the path was challenging, filled with moments of doubt and sorrow, the boy continued to persevere. He had discovered that true courage was not the absence of fear or sadness, but the ability to act despite them, to choose love over comfort, and to give without expecting anything in return by the end of the month. The mother's condition had improved significantly. The boy had adjusted to a life of responsibility beyond his years, but he had also discovered the depth of his own resilience and compassion. He knew that challenges would continue, that life would bring more obstacles. But he had learned an invaluable lesson, that the power to make a difference often lies in the smallest, most selfless acts. And though he had lost something precious, he had gained a strength and understanding that would stay with him forever. The days passed slowly, yet the boy never wavered from his duties. He woke up early each morning, helped his mother with small chores, and made sure she had everything she needed for the day. His schoolwork continued, though it sometimes felt heavy with the responsibilities he carried on his young shoulders. Yet each day brought small victories. His mother smiled more. She was able to rest without constant worry, and the boy felt a growing sense of purpose in every action he took. The small home, once filled with quiet struggle, began to feel lighter with these tiny steps forward. The veteran, from his porch across the street, continued to observe quietly. He had seen the boy ride his bike, play with friends, and now he saw him carrying out daily tasks with care and patience. Something about the boy's demeanor had shifted. He moved with quiet determination, a calm maturity that seemed beyond his years. One evening, curiosity got the better of the veteran. He walked over to the boy's home and knocked gently on the door. The boy opened it cautiously, expecting perhaps a word of encouragement or a question about chores. "Can I talk to you for a moment?" the veteran asked, his voice gentle. The boy nodded and stepped aside to let him in. They sat together in the small living room, the boy keeping his hands folded in his lap, unsure of what to expect. The veteran looked at him with a mix of respect and admiration. "I've been watching you," he said quietly, I've seen the way you take care of your mother. I know it hasn't been easy, and I want to know more. Why are you doing this all by yourself?" The boy hesitated for a moment, his gaze dropping to the floor. Then, with a deep breath, he explained everything: the mother's illness, the hospital bills, the worry that pressed down on both of them, and the decision to sell his bike. He spoke with honesty, the weight of his actions evident in his voice. He described the sadness he felt, the fear of losing his mother, and the determination that had driven him to make the painful choice. The veteran listened carefully, nodding, never interrupting, letting the boy's story unfold naturally. When the boy finished, the room was quiet for a moment. The veteran leaned back, taking in the enormity of what the young boy had done. He had faced a situation that would challenge most adults, and had acted with courage, selflessness, and love. His heart swelled with admiration, and he realized that heroism could appear in the smallest of forms. A child, without resources, without experience, had done something remarkable purely out of love. The veteran's eyes filled with a quiet emotion, one that he had long kept hidden in his own life, a mixture of pride, respect, and humility. "You are extraordinary," the veteran finally said, his voice firm but gentle. "Not many would have the courage to do what you have done. Your mother is lucky to have you, and the world is lucky to have someone like you in it." The boy looked at him, a mixture of pride and surprise on his face. He had not expected praise, nor had he sought it. He had acted out of love, because it was the right thing to do. Yet hearing these words gave him a sense of validation, a quiet reassurance that his actions mattered, even if only in small, unseen ways. As the days went on, word of the boy's actions began to reach other neighbors. Quietly at first, through whispers and subtle gestures of admiration, and then more openly. People in the neighborhood who had once only noticed the small struggles of the family now saw the courage and determination of the boy. They began to help in small ways, offering food, helping with chores, lending a hand wherever possible. The community's support did not come as grand gestures, but as quiet acts of kindness. Inspired by the boy's bravery and the love he showed for his mother, the boy noticed these changes. He felt the support, though he did not seek it, and it gave him strength. He continued his daily routines, caring for his mother, keeping up with school, and finding moments of joy in small things. The veteran remained a quiet guide, offering advice when needed, and observing the boy's growth with pride. He shared stories from his own life, teaching the boy lessons about resilience, patience, and the quiet strength that comes from love and responsibility. One evening, as the boy and his mother sat together after dinner, the veteran came to visit. He had brought a small package which he handed to the boy. "This is for you," he said. "A small token to remind you that what you have done is seen, and it matters. Keep it close and remember the strength inside you." Inside the package was a notebook and a pen. The boy accepted them with gratitude, understanding the significance without needing words. He had already started writing his thoughts and feelings, and now he had something tangible to continue that practice, a place to record his journey, his lessons, and his emotions. Writing became a companion, a place where he could process his experiences, reflect on his courage, and prepare for whatever challenges lay ahead. The mother, too, noticed the change in her son. She saw the quiet confidence in his movements, the care with which he approached life, and the deep love that guided every action. She felt a surge of pride and gratitude, realizing that the boy's strength had been forged not in ease, but in adversity. She expressed her feelings often, letting him know how proud she was, how grateful she was for the sacrifices he had made, and how deeply she loved him. Through all of this, the boy learned important lessons about life, responsibility, and the power of selfless acts. He discovered that courage is not always loud or visible. Sometimes it is quiet, hidden in small choices, in moments of love, and in actions that go unnoticed by most. He realized that even a single person can make a difference, and that true heroism often appears in the form of everyday sacrifices made for those we love. The veteran continued to watch, often reflecting on the boy's journey. He had seen many battles in his life, many moments of hardship and struggle. But he recognized that the courage of this child was of a different kind. It was pure, untainted by ego or recognition, driven solely by love and compassion. The veteran understood that sometimes the greatest lessons come from observing the quiet heroism of others, and in this young boy he saw an example that would stay with him forever. One afternoon, the boy visited the shop where he had sold the bike. He wanted to see it one last time, to make peace with his sacrifice. The shopkeeper welcomed him warmly and shared how the bike had been given to another child who needed it. Seeing the joy it brought, someone else gave the boy a sense of closure and fulfillment. He realized that his act of giving had extended beyond his family and had touched another life, creating a chain of kindness and joy. The boy returned home with a renewed sense of purpose. He continued to care for his mother, to excel in school, and to embrace the small joys of life. The veteran remained a mentor and friend, guiding him with wisdom and quiet encouragement. The neighborhood, inspired by the boy's selflessness, continued to offer support and kindness, creating an environment of love and care around them. Through this journey, the boy learned that true impact comes not from wealth or power, but from the depth of love and courage within. He understood that sacrifices, no matter how small, carry immense value, and that selfless acts create ripples that reach far beyond what we can see. And though life would continue to present challenges, the boy had discovered the strength to face them with resilience, compassion, and unwavering love for those he cared about most. The days turned into weeks, and slowly, life began to settle into a rhythm of hope and recovery. The mother's health improved steadily, each day bringing a brighter smile to her face and more strength to her body. The boy continued his daily routines, caring for her with the same devotion he had shown from the beginning. The small house, once heavy with worry, now carried a quiet sense of peace and gratitude. Every meal prepared, every chore completed, and every shared conversation became a celebration of survival, love, and perseverance. The boy's friends at school noticed the change in him. He still carried the weight of responsibility, but he walked with a quiet confidence and calmness that drew admiration from those around him. He no longer seemed burdened by sorrow, but motivated by a deep understanding of life and compassion. He helped classmates willingly, tutored younger students, and always had a kind word for anyone who needed it. Though he no longer had his beloved bike, he found joy in smaller things, and laughter shared with friends. And in the pride of knowing he had made a real difference in his mother's life, the veteran remained a constant presence, quietly guiding and mentoring the boy. He shared lessons from his own life, helping the boy understand patience, resilience, and the importance of staying true to one's heart. They often sat together in the evenings, talking about dreams, challenges, and the meaning of courage. The boy listened intently, absorbing every word, every story, and reflecting on how far he had come. The veteran admired the boy's maturity and strength, understanding that true heroism often manifests in the quietest of actions. The community, inspired by the boy's selflessness, continued to support the family in small but meaningful ways. Neighbors offered help without being asked, brought food, assisted with chores, and even contributed small amounts of money to help with ongoing needs. The boy watched these gestures quietly, feeling a deep sense of gratitude. He realized that acts of kindness could create a chain reaction, where love and support multiplied beyond what one person could imagine. The world, he understood, was connected in ways that sometimes only became visible through courage and compassion. One afternoon, the boy decided to revisit the place where he had sold his bike. He wanted to see it again, to reflect on what he had done, and to feel closure. The shopkeeper greeted him warmly, smiling at the boy. "That bike is bringing joy to another child," the shopkeeper said. The boy looked at the bike, remembering the countless rides he had taken. The adventures, the laughter, and the quiet moments of freedom. Though he missed it, he felt a profound sense of peace. His sacrifice had created happiness for someone else and had given his mother a chance to heal. That was more valuable than anything else. Back at home, the mother noticed the boy's quiet contemplation. She reached out and held his hand, her eyes soft with gratitude and love. "You have grown so much," she said. "You have given me life, hope, and courage. I will always be proud of you." The boy smiled, feeling the warmth of her words settle deep in his heart. The journey had been difficult, but he had learned lessons that no hardship could ever take away. The boy continued to write in the notebook the veteran had given him. He filled its pages with thoughts, reflections, and lessons learned. Each entry was a step toward understanding himself, his choices, and the meaning of selfless love. Writing became a refuge, a way to process emotions, and a reminder of the journey he had taken. Over time, the notebook grew thick with words that spoke of courage, resilience, compassion, and hope. It was a testament to the strength of a young heart and the impact of love-driven choices. As the boy matured, the lessons he had learned continued to guide him. He understood that life would always present challenges, but he had discovered the strength to face them with patience, courage, and compassion. He learned that true power comes not from wealth, status, or recognition, but from the ability to care deeply, act selflessly, and remain steadfast in the face of adversity. Every decision he made thereafter carried the quiet wisdom of experience and the enduring understanding that love is the most powerful force in the world. The veteran often reflected on the boy's journey. He had witnessed many hardships in his own life, but the courage, maturity, and compassion of this young boy had touched him profoundly. He realized that heroism is not always loud or visible. Sometimes it is found in quiet sacrifices, in selfless acts, and in the resilience to do what is right despite fear or loss. The veteran knew that he had learned as much from the boy as the boy had learned from him. Life, he understood, could be taught not just through experience, but through the observation of quiet acts of courage and love. One sunny afternoon, the mother and the boy walked through the neighborhood together. The streets were alive with children playing, neighbors greeting each other, and small acts of kindness happening quietly all around. The boy paused to watch a child riding a bike, laughing with friends. He smiled, feeling a sense of connection and continuity. The joy of another child reminded him that sacrifices, even painful ones, could create happiness and hope beyond what we imagine. His heart swelled with pride and contentment, knowing that his actions had ripple effects that would continue far into the future. The mother stopped and looked at her son, her eyes filled with love. "You have shown me what true courage is," she said softly. "You have taught me that love can move mountains, and that the smallest acts of sacrifice can change the world." The boy nodded, feeling a deep sense of fulfillment. He had learned that life's greatest lessons often come through struggle, that true strength is measured by compassion, and that the bonds of love endure through every challenge. In the evenings, the boy and the veteran would sit together, discussing dreams, hopes, and plans for the future. They spoke of learning, helping others, and spreading kindness wherever possible. The boy, now more aware of the world and the impact of his actions, understood that life was not just about surviving, but about making a meaningful difference in the lives of others. Every choice, every act of love, every sacrifice carried weight and significance. As months passed, the mother fully recovered, regaining her strength and returning to her work with renewed energy. The boy continued to care for her, though now with less of the heavy burden that had once weighed on his young shoulders. Their home, once filled with quiet struggle, now resonated with warmth, laughter, and hope. The boy had discovered that resilience and love could overcome even the harshest challenges, and he carried these lessons with him into every part of his life. The veteran often shared the boy's story with others, emphasizing the power of small, selfless acts. He spoke of courage, love, and resilience, using the boy's example to inspire those who might otherwise overlook the strength that lies within ordinary people. The story of the boy who had sold his bike to save his mother became a quiet legend in the neighborhood, a reminder that heroism can take many forms, and that the smallest acts can carry the greatest impact. Through it all, the boy never lost his humility. He continued to live with kindness, compassion, and quiet strength. He had learned that life's greatest rewards are not always material, but are found in love, courage, and the positive impact we have on others. The boy had grown, not just in age, but in character, wisdom, and understanding. He had faced hardship, made sacrifices, and discovered the depth of his own heart. As the sun set one evening, casting a golden glow over the small neighborhood, the boy sat with his mother and the veteran on the porch. They watched children playing, neighbors greeting each other, and the simple joys of life unfolding. The boy felt a profound sense of peace. He had faced the hardest trials of his young life and had emerged stronger, wiser, and filled with love. He knew that the road ahead would bring new challenges. But he also knew that with courage, compassion, and selfless love, anything could be overcome. The boy held his mother's hand, feeling her warmth and strength, and looked at the veteran with gratitude. He had learned that true heroism lies not in fame or recognition, but in the quiet acts of love and courage that shape the lives of those around us. The lessons of sacrifice, resilience, and compassion would guide him forever. And in that quiet evening, surrounded by love, hope, and the promise of tomorrow, the boy understood that life's greatest victories are found not in what we keep for ourselves, but in what we give to those we love. The story of his courage, compassion, and selflessness would continue to inspire, not just within the neighborhood, but in the hearts of all who heard it. A reminder that love, when paired with courage, can overcome any obstacle and change lives forever.